So I'm not going to take over today with any slides whatsoever. I'm going to instead invite you into yourself this morning and invite you into a journey. And the journey this morning is pieces of writing from my experiences, I would say, over the last 6 months, from January to now. And this journey in part is heavily influenced by a spiritual directors program that I'm taking through Hayden Institute, and this intersection of mystical Christianity and Jungian psychology. So today, I'm inviting you back into the place of myth, and I'm actually inviting out your inner child. I want you to remember that side of yourself that was so open to possibilities, so curious and filled with wonder, so delighted and in awe at the most simplest things. The visual I get in this moment is a little child smelling a flower and being completely captivated by the flower, by the scent, by the breeze on their hair. My own visual that brings me back is this moment in my young child-like wonder. I was about 3 and I had a small salt shaker filled with water, and I saw a baby robin, and I slowly sprinkled water on its head while singing "Robin in the Rain." It was simple, it was delightful, it was open and filled with wonder. We have that capacity. I'm inviting you back in, and I'm inviting you back into it this morning through a series of poetry and myth. And part of the reason why poetry and myth are so captivating is because they do not have one truth or one fact to them. They invite us into a space of meaning making, of resonance, of curiosity, wonder, and noticing. So this morning, I invite you to bring that childlike wonder into this space. I want to give you a warning, though, a warning, an invitation, an acknowledgement that the childlike wonder I'm inviting you into has a depth. So the pieces that I'm sharing with you invite you to both be noticing and curious about the depth and holding with childlike wonder, curiosity. This is our power, when we can look at what is and simply notice and simply hold it, simply see it and acknowledge it. This first piece of writing is called Soul Knowing. When we fight against our story, when we try to write it slant, it's like bringing a knife to a gunfight, and the story will persist until we read it right. It isn't the meaning we make, for we can make it many ways. It is the moment where the soul resonates. It is the moment, I say again, where the soul resonates, that new understanding will emerge. And peace, no matter what that understanding unveils. Again, I say, and peace, no matter what that understanding unveils. And then once more, with delight and openness and freedom, I say, peace, no matter what that understanding does unveil. And this is why we do the work, to get back in touch with our inner truth. When I first wrote this piece of writing, my learning was on this painful curve of recognizing that I can have one experience that I have written 50, 60, 70 different ways. I can create the meaning from it that I want. I can go back to that thing, see it anew, add something, and see it completely differently. I can also shift from the mindset that I'm going round the same mountain, meeting the same things each time, and rather see that, no, I am spiraling deeper, and I am coming to the same thing, but new. I am coming to the same thing, but as I am now, And what a delight then to be met with the same thing, but as I am now, with newer capacity, growth, expansiveness to meet that newly, to meet that more wholly. So in this writing of the story and seeing it from different understanding, I could see how we can limit or expand ourselves and how we can limit or expand one another. And my focus is in organizational development. And in that, it was seeing that sometimes our stories can limit us from the wisdom of one another. So put in unity terms, I am a divine being. Yes. And so are you. And if I come to you with a truth that sees my own divine being, but misses yours, there is a resonance that is telling me something is not there that is needed, what needs to be added, so that the experience can be expansive, so that we can see one another in a way tangibly, that we become fragments of the whole. Khalil Gibran talks about an amazing piece that I'm not going to read this morning, but I would encourage everyone to read, on love. And part of the poetry talks about this torturous space between love and pain. They are intricately interwoven. And he says, like, if you want to grow, you must understand that love is equally for the growth and expansion as it is for the pruning. And it will prune you and take away those things and expand you. And then he says this, and it blew my mind. He says, if you are to choose to pass in to the threshold of love, you have to be willing to feel that pain. You have to be willing to be pruned as well as expanded. And part of what we're being pruned of is our stories, our scripts, the way we've been told we're supposed to be and what we're told we're supposed to do. And we're also pruned with the paradox of this. The more we learn, the more we know we don't know. And when we stay in a curious place and in a place of wonder and in seeing the divine in ourselves and one another, we continue to expand. When we think we know, we start to miss the wonder that is, the growth and expansiveness, the newness that is. And so he says, if you are not willing to accept the pains, the depth of love that means to transform us, to like pottery, burn us and grow us anew. If you're not willing to do that, step out of the threshold of love. And the natural consequence of that is you will laugh, but not all your laughter, and you will cry, but not all your tears. And in that moment, my own story came to this understanding and a deeper inner truth that at the end of my life, my only focus is to have left no stone of me unturned, to be fearless in the looking at me, to be gentle and kind in the looking at me, but to be able to know who's actually there. So I got, as part of my program, to spend time with Kwame Scruggs, who is an amazing person of color who works with inner city youth. And he works with inner city youth in the most incredible depth of healing through use of myth. And he says why it is so powerful, myth, is because it was always meant, these fairy tales, these stories we have, they were always meant to hold lessons and truth and wisdom and resonance. And when we move away from what we think we know in the concrete to expansive thought again in the realms of possibilities, change happens. And I want to invite you into considering that both within yourself, inviting yourselves into other realms of you, but also when we work together with one another. We become tangible in the facts of what we think we know and the truth we think we bring. We become expansive when we look at it again as myth. So we seem to have an obsession sometimes with truth, believing we have the truth, imposing the truth on one another, versus risking relationship and discovering greater truth by seeing both our divine universe in ourselves and within one another. What I'm saying is, we play God and we think we know the whole story, everything. We think we know the whole story. And now here's my position and let me impose it. And myth invites us back into the place of wonder and noticing. So the best part about what I'm about to tell you is that none of this, I have a dog wanting in. The best part about what I am about to tell you is that none of this is true. So you can let go of that fact-checking side of yourself. You can let go of that side that wants to argue your truth against mine, because none of this is true. You can let go of the idea that we have come here for one collective understanding with one another, and instead make room for what resonates within you. What truth does this story unearth? How does it fit as part of the whole? Once upon a time, before we knew to name time, that is, there lived a farmer and he had a son. Now his son, he was a young little fella. And when I say little, I mean that literally. For he was only as big as his father's thumb. And on this particular day, his father was out and about to go to plow his fields. And the son said, "Father, may I go with you?" And the father repeated, "May you go with me?" The father continued, "No, you are far too small. Besides, if we go outside with you being so small, perhaps just a mere gust of wind will send you away." Well, the little boy, he started to cry. He started to cry before the times where we would tell our boys it's okay for boys to cry. For the soul would have no rainbow, had the eyes no tears. Well, the father, he got tired of the little boy crying, so he put his son in his pocket and he walked out to that field. Once he reached the field, he took the boy out of his pocket and he placed him on the freshly cut furrow. It was about that time that a giant was coming over the top of the hill. And the father, out of a sense of humor and trying to scare his son into making him behave, said, "Look at that giant over there. He's coming to get you." Well, the giant, with just a mere 2 steps, was there in the furrow. And the giant picked the little boy up with his 2 fingers, and he examined the boy and then walked away with the boy. Now the father stood there, frozen in fear. The only thing that he could think of was that he would never see his son again. Now the myth goes on and on and on. For as long as we're living, the myth goes on. And it's a beautiful myth, I might add. But I will stop there and invite you to consider, with no right and wrong, a few questions. But first, from the understanding that you are the giant, you are the little boy, and you are the father. When have you felt small in your life? What is carrying you right now? How has fear and hurt limited you in your life? When have you felt small in your life? What is carrying you right now? How has fear limited you in your life? And so if it were the original message that I wrote and shared a few months ago, it would end there. But naturally, the myth doesn't end, it continues, and so did the learning. I would find myself at a crossroads of what fear is it you are confronting now. And it is from a place of vulnerability and authenticity that I share this piece called The Wound. What is this deepest sadness that flows in and out like waves, with shells that cut and wounds that sting? I can't fix this, but I can feel it. Rejection, confusion, love that wants to flow, depth that wants to exist. The wound in me screams, fuck you. The heart in me whispers, I understand. The truth in me says, don't compromise and be less than who you are for one more second, for one more person. The mind in me says, you will understand in reverse, but only if you live it first. My heart says, my chest is aching and it is hard to breathe. My soul says, let go. All that could not be held must fall. All that isn't authenticity in every realm must disappear. The childlike wonder in me just wants to love and more and better this time. The fearless mystic warrior knows her domain and how to dance it. The free, loving hippie side wants for herself and every other person to live with freedom, choice, authenticity, pleasure, mutuality, reciprocity, or at least know that they have the option. And I will fight until every person equally has the option. But right now I am letting the wound scream, fuck you. Letting the anger that is a normal, natural part of grief have space. The wound can have room. This is my fault. I changed. This is my power. I change. What is this wound then? I stop screaming, fuck you now, and place my hands on my heart. Shame for who I am, for who I am not. Only this time I welcome her, and we sit down to talk. I no longer seek to escape. I adapt, but only authentically. The Miles Carter spoken word comes into my energy, the last few lines. Your heart will be shaped and reshaped. As humans, we are blessed with the skill of adaptation. It's kept us here for eons. You will adapt. You can adapt. Transform and change over and over. And even as I wrote this, I learned. This is why we never speak from the wound as though it were truth. And this is why we must know our wounds so they don't drive or limit our truth or our ability to connect. This is why we never speak from the wound as though it were truth, as though there was any one truth, either within us or outside of us. We are a tension of truth and a mixture of it all. And even the truth that love and universe are infinite was never meant to limit the infinite forms that love takes. Was never meant to create a limited form of love that seeks only to expand our forest without pruning what is not meant to be there, without the refining. This too is love. What a gift to be able to let go of that which is no longer serving us. What a gift to be able to, from within, heal. What a gift to be able to heal with others. Whoosh. What a gift to be able to heal with others. There is no more one right than there is anything else. But here's what I know. What I know now, and it brings me an infinite amount of peace that I have never known before in my life. My truth requires nothing of anyone else for me to be with it. My truth requires nothing of anyone else for me to be with it. And I rest. I want to invite you now into a time of meditation. A time perhaps of deeper meditation, depending on how you've been looking at the last 10 minutes. To breathe into this beautiful, infinite moment, to breathe into life itself, to breathe into your being, your inner truth, that inner truth that requires nothing of anyone else. Tell me of the path you walk. Not so that I can tell you to walk differently, but rather so that I could know you. And you could know you more too. Breathe. Tell me the stories of the old ones, your old ones. The land is speaking in depth of wisdom, in icy breath and warm sunshine breathing upon my cheek. of new slates and mossy gateways. May you be comforted by the fire of truth that can be lit within. Rest well, dear one. Listen for the rustling of the truth telling. The newness that is now only a dream budding into being. First underneath a bed of snow, and then blooming like a new flower in springtime. The newness that is the promise of life, and endings and beginnings are not what they seem. All of this is simply life unfolding. And we are the creators of the unfolding. We are the creators of the unfolding, even in the seemingly black of closed eyes, or hearts, or minds. We are forming. Open. The universe whispers. Open. The universe pleads. Form with consciousness and with openness to being formed in the process, not into anything other than you. And I'll close today with one of my most recent prose in a series titled Grief. With the wisdom, that meeting, that shame, that wound that I held with love healed bigger wounds within me. Perhaps I would say that shame for who I was by looking at it with love and holding it and drawing it in with tenderness and curiosity. Help me understand like attracts like in a way that I thought love without the pain could heal. But now I see that the pain was love healing. Bigger, deeper wounds of not enoughness, of limited thinking, and of the idea that I am somehow not worthy of all the love and belonging that the universe has to offer. To let my heart break, but to see that it didn't break apart, but rather broke open. To accept people as they are, to accept myself as I am, to accept life on life's terms. And that is, of course, never static. To accept only what can be given freely, to accept that things change, and so do people. To accept that even loving with your whole heart doesn't mean a relationship won't end, but rather it means that you are loved and loved in the process. And it is in that moment that I understood oneness, no matter what expression it takes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. We'll go into a song. to end our presentation today.
We rise, humbly hearted rise, won't be divided rise, with spirit to guide us rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In a hope, in prayer, we're right here. In a hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise. All of the children rise. Elders with wisdom rise. Ancestors surround us rise. In a hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In a hope, in prayer, we're right here. In a hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise. Up from the wreckage, rise. With tears and with courage, rise. Fighting for life, we rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise. Humbly hearted rise. Won't be divided rise. With spirit to guide us rise.
Wow. I don't know what was more powerful, the talk or the song, but both of them are just like, the energy is just huge and amazing. Thank you, Mel. Your shared wisdom is just always so deep and so emotional and so soul transforming. And I love what you bring from both your writings and your teachings and your background. And we so appreciate you having you here. I feel like this talk's leading to maybe a part 2. There seems to be more to it than that. And I loved when you asked for us to look at a perspective of a myth from all of the different factors, from the dad, from the son, from the giant. And we know those different perspectives was where everything in life comes from. It's all sort of what we see from our own vantage point as our truth, if you will. And I hope you also publish something, because your writings are beautiful. So thank you for being here. You are a blessing to us, and we hope you come back very, very soon. Namaste. Next week, and for the next 3 weeks, we're going to have LUT Wendy Carr here with us. The first week, she's going to have a talk called The Path of the Stone, and she's going to base these 3 talks on the Book of Forgiving. Unity Kitchener will be joining Unity Ottawa next week. We know that your heartfelt and conscious and generous giving paved the way for the future of Unity and all who enter. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. Be rich in the world is about giving, generosity, knowing it all comes back to you tenfold. E-transfers are acceptable at unitykitchener@gmail.com. There is a give button to donate on our website. There is a conscious giving form if you want to set up ongoing donations that you don't have to worry about weekly, monthly, or however you'd like to do that on the Tithely app. And mailing any checks to the office. The website has the address on the office for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all you give to keep our center viable and open and an option to everybody to come to. You want to take any blessings you have in the energy of your hands, or as Kelly has taught us, if you want to take it to the edge of your screen and touch those people beside you, whatever is comfortable for you. I'll ask you to say our abundance blessing with me. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I joyously give, and all that I joyously receive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. Just so you're aware, Unity Kitchener tithes each month 10%. In the last 3 months, we've given to the Rainbow Choir, the Red Cross, and the Heart and Stroke Foundation. We talked about Bob Proctor last week, and one of his comments was the law of prosperity is generosity. If you want more, give more, and it's an abundance in your life.